Now, the making of a good compilation tape is a very subtle art, many do's and don'ts.
Let's make a playlist.
First of all, you're using someone else's poetry to express how you feel. This is a delicate thing.
Let's make a playlist.
You gotta kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you gotta take it up a notch. But you don't want to blow your wad, so then you gotta cool it off a notch. There are a lot of rules.
No rules here. This is Let's Make a Playlist with Jonathan Howe. Friendship is a weird thing. Everyone's definition of it differs too. Some people keep their friend group small, some thrive on having the most friends possible, collecting people like their Magic the Gathering cards. I always wonder how I define friendship. Does someone need to be a regular staple in my life? How often should I text them to consider them a friend? Do we need to meet for a beverage, at least weekly, monthly, yearly? I think a friend is anyone in your life that brings you joy to see them doing well in their personal life, their professional life, or even their musical life. There was a time where that last portion was hard for me to reckon with. Maybe I was prone to envy early on when I chose green as my favorite color, or maybe I just really liked Green Day and wanted to make that my entire personality since I was 11. Either way, I have found myself jealous of plenty of people that I've made friends with through music. The friends who have regular residencies at bars with their cover bands. The friends who travel to LA to write and record music that I don't even like or want to participate in. Heck, envy has even creeped in watching friends graduate from music school while I could never seem to get my head focused long enough to achieve the same passing grades. I guess that's why I'm not composing the score to a movie or producing talented new artists around Canada. Instead, I have armed myself with a microphone and enough editing equipment to create this very show you hear now. My name is Jonathan Howe, and this is Let's Make a Playlist, the podcast where I am joined by musicians and music-adjacent folks to explore the lost art of making a playlist, burn CD, or mixtape. My guest today is a friend that I can honestly say I have never been jealous of, not when he was the better guitar player in our brief time in the same band, not when he got on stage and played guitar with Colorado at their final show in St. Catharines, and certainly not when I heard his current band Panharmonicon's self-titled debut record. The band presents this as a straight-ahead rock album, but the undertones of metal, grunge, and progressive rock elevate their sound above the mud of generic rock music to make something that speaks to the skill of all members of the band. Matt D'Amico is the guitar player of Panharmonicon, and a great one at that. Better still, he's just a really great dude. The extent of our friendship has been kind of reduced to running into each other at shows or making sure to show up for each other's gigs. I mean, that kind of sounds like the perfect situation, though, for two busy dudes in rock bands in their 30s. It was awesome to catch up with Matt and chat about music. I did my best to keep the guitar nerddom to a minimum, but when you find someone who speaks your language, it's hard not to revert to your native tongue. We recorded this around the release of the album and the subsequent release show that they had at the Warehouse Concert Hall in St. Catharines, headlined by new metal band Clockwise, featuring one Dave Monks, formerly of Tokyo Police Club, on bass and backing vocals. I definitely did not have seeing my buddy's band open for a new metal band featuring the Tokyo Police Club guy on my 2024 bingo card, but 2025 is bringing us together as my band, Green White Checkered, is playing with Panharmonicon at Camp Cataract on February 22nd. We'll be joined by new friends Daybreak from Toronto as well. If I'm clever, I'm going to remember to put the ticket link in the show notes. With all that said, let's get to my chat with Matt and hear what songs made his playlist. All right, on this week's edition of Let's Make a Playlist, I got my good buddy and pal, Matt D'Amico from Panharmonicon, coming on. And Matt, thanks for doing this. I was thinking about like questions to ask you before the interview started and all that sort of stuff, and I was so desperately trying not to turn it into like a guitar nerd fest, but it might happen.
That's okay. I was thinking that myself. I was like, I should have my guitar stuff ready just in case. But I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. This is cool. I've never done this before, so forgive me if I'm not very entertaining. But I hope I answer these questions. We have a good time.
I think it's going to be great. We'll get to the game a little later on, that's kind of the whole point of this podcast. But talk a little bit about the band. And recently, you guys just put out a record. I think 2 weeks ago, roughly now, 2.5 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks this Friday. So yeah, we put out our first record, just self-titled Panharmonicon. It's kind of been in the background simmering for a while, so we're happy to finally get it out there. And so far, a lot of people are digging it, so it's had a good response, and we're having a lot of fun with it too.
So talk to me a little bit about the album itself. You mentioned that it's kind of been in the works for a pretty long time. When did the band get together? When was it like, all right, let's be a band and make an album first? Was it play some shows? Like, how did how did the whole process of Panharmonicon come to be?
So my good buddy Jacob Gigliotti, the drummer in the band, I've known him since high school. We did, as kids, like little high school bands and stuff like that. And around 2019, we kind of reconnected and we're trying to get back into music again. And so the reason it's been 5 years is because COVID happened right in the middle of that. So we were just getting started. We put out an EP actually under a different band name. And then, we took a 2-year hiatus and then kind of revisited it, and then kind of felt throughout the writing process, we're kind of having a different identity, and we kind of rebranded, changed our band name, and then, brings us to where we are now. So yeah, we recorded for probably took us a year and a half to record and mix and master and all that. I think we started recording probably, a little over a year ago. So yeah.
And when you mentioned like the rebrand, how different would you say the band was? Like, was it a complete change of direction? Because the way you guys sound on this record, it feels like you guys have been playing in this style and in this style of songwriting and your instrumentation. It all feels like you guys have been doing this for way longer. It makes sense that you guys spent a year working on this record, because you can hear the process behind it. I feel like, anyways.
It's the same 3 members as far as instrumentalists. So me on guitar, Chris Popoli on bass, and Jacob on drums. So previously we had a different singer. So that EP was, we had some drama, and then our new singer, Marcel, took over. So he hopped in on that EP, not really being part of the songwriting process. He just came in and did vocals. So it was kind of when we started to think about making a new record that it just kind of made sense, like new member, kind of starting fresh and give everyone kind of that fair opportunity to, like, everyone's involved this time and we're all going to make this together. So we decided to change the band name. And the old band name was Future Not, and we dug that name as well.
Yes.
But we decided to go with Panharmonicon and just spice it up a little bit, I guess.
It's a good spicy name. For those who don't know what a Panharmonicon is, because you explained this to me when I was like, oh, you know what? That actually makes perfect sense. What is Panharmonicon?
We love to play a game called Magic the Gathering. So it's actually, when we first saw the name, it was there's a card called Panharmonicon. And then it just captured us right there. But as we looked into it, beyond just the game and where they took the name from, it's like this old machine built in, I believe it might have been the late 1700s, early 1800s, that it's one of the first machines that could play music in your home. You had to be pretty wealthy to have it, because it was, like an orchestra in your house. So it had violins and horns and like an organ in it. And essentially you hit play and it plays that one song. That's all it did. It played one song. And I think Beethoven wrote a song to be played exclusively on the Panharmonicon, which is so funny to think that, people were doing exclusive deals before, all these big streaming services and whatnot, right? So, so we thought that was kind of cool, that kind of, we kind of felt like there was parallels to with what we were kind of experimenting with, that we wanted to be a rock band but be a little different, and the Panharmonicon seemed like a different way to listen to music, so we're kind of decided to go with that name.
It's funny too, because when we first talked about this project, like I don't know if I shot you a message, or we ran into each other somewhere or something, and you were telling me about this new band, and we were talking about like influences, and you were like, yeah, it's a rock band, there's kind of some like metal influence but not really, there's kind of some grunge influence, and then I was like, I wonder what they're gonna sound like. And then I heard the record, and I think I've said this to you and some of the other band members multiple times, but to me it's like a progressive metal Soundgarden in a way, because there's a lot of Soundgarden stuff that, you maybe don't know from the radio, that's got the heavy drop D kind of progressiveness to the guitar playing, I find, in terms of like, I feel like I can hear some Rush influence, or like Yes or Zeppelin or whatever. And that's kind of how I feel with you guys too, whereas like there's the hooks of a grunge song or like some kind of 90s alternative rock, but then there's also the skillful playing. You guys are all such great instrumentalists, and Marcel's a great vocalist, that it kind of just makes sense that it turned into, it turned into a band where you guys have so much skill on display on the record. I really enjoy that.
The sound is really, we feel is really unique, or at least in our little world anyway. So I think the Soundgarden comparison makes a lot of sense. I definitely have a lot of grunge roots and alternative 90s music, but we all love prog, and whether that be 70s prog all the way up to modern day prog, we into it all. So it's I like the way it kind of turned out, and it's kind of a mishmash of a lot of the things we all love, and we're glad that it shows.
So I want to get into a little bit of the guitar nerddom, because we've not only both grown up as guitar players, but we actually played in a band very briefly for a hot minute together. So that was a lot of fun back in the day, and you were such a great lead player. I was like, man, this is great. I've got a lead player. I don't have to worry about playing solos. I can just play my power chords and see how it goes or whatever. But I was listening to the album again today, and in particular on An Omen, I was listening to your kind of the picking part, I guess, that kind of starts the song for you. And I was like, it's like, yeah, this is like, I can see how this could be like, people would think like metal, or they'd hear it and think alternative rock or whatever. But weirdly enough, tonally, I picked up a little bit of U2, and then I started putting the math together. And when I saw you guys, you were playing with a Vox. Is it a Vox?
Vox AC30. Yep, that's right. Yep.
So did you record with the Vox AC30 as well?
No, believe it or not. Yeah. I think
okay.
I used so the studio we recorded at had a handful of amps already there. And frankly, just out of laziness, like I didn't want to bring my amp all the way down the stairs. Like that's the only reason I didn't use my own. They had some there, and I decided I want to try something new. So I used a Bugera. I'm not sure what the model number was, but he had a Marshall, a Fender, this Bugera, and a Mesa Boogie. And we tried them all. Like, we spent a whole day just trying to get guitar tones, and we went with the black sheep, this Bugera amp. And I have to track down the model name, because I really did like that amp. But like what I kind of go for with tone is like, I just kind of want it to be, I want it to sound huge, but I don't want it to sound metal, if that makes sense.
There's a chiminess to your playing. Like, it doesn't feel like when you just plug into a Marshall and crank it to 10. Like, there's a texture to it. There's a nicety that, again, I think that's where I hear the U2, like I was saying, but also like just the progressive rock elements of your guys' playing as well. Every note feels like it's not getting drowned out in distortion or in overdrive or whatever. Like, it all is just, I think a lot of it has to
do with like just being the only guitar player. I'm not really competing with anyone in that frequency, so which I kind of like. I'm a little selfish like that. I just kind of that's always felt like a little freeing to I kind of like the pressure of it's just me. So let's try to make it. Let's fill in the spaces. You know what I mean? So in Omen, which going back to your U2 thing, that whole intro riff and that main hook has a very specific delay that has a pretty prominent set repeat. So I'm really only picking half the time there. Like, it's really the delay that's making it the song, So
yeah, again, that's the edge in the playing. I like it. So I wanted to ask a little bit about the writing process as well for you guys. Were you all kind of coming up with parts and pieces and coming together? Was it all written a lot in the room? How did the writing of this record go for you guys?
From song to song, I guess that they're all a little different, but for the most part, I usually like to come in with I like to have a concept of a song. So I'll have 3 or 4 parts, and I will kind of go from there and jam it out and kind of fill in the gaps. So as far as the music creation, that's most of the songs kind of go with that kind of formula. There's a couple outliers as in the record as well, but and Marcel does all the melodies and lyrics for the most part. I think Maker is the only one that I wrote the melody, the lyrics, and the song pretty much from front to back. That was kind of a weird circumstance. Same with The Source, was more of a collab between me and Chris. And then we kind of pitched it to the band once we kind of figured out, the whole front to back. But yeah, I always I'll have my voice memos on my phone is just full of, I'm really bad. It all just says riff 1 or cool riff or cool riff song idea. So it's a rat nest trying to find something in there. But usually I'll have riff 1, 2, 3, and then I move on to something else. And then when we go to like, hey, who's got ideas? I'm like, well, I got a couple, chunks that maybe we can like a good foundation. Because I always found if I come in with just one riff, then that's fun. But it's if I kind of just figure out the other few parts on my own, then we really have something to bounce off of. It's like it's already kind of like in people's heads, like, oh, I get the vibe.
There's a rough sketch, and then like you can kind of edit and shape things from there as your own personal taste apply from if you're in a band. I love writing sessions like that. I think that's a great way to make a record, and I think it's a reason that you guys sound the way you guys sound, because it's the four of you really coming together in your own special, unique ways to add to the song. So it's a really great record. I'm glad you came on the show, buddy. I wanted to ask you, been asking all the guests this, when was the last time you made someone or maybe even yourself, a playlist, mixtape, mix CD, anything like that?
The first that comes to my mind, I think earlier this year, I made a playlist called It's Grunge, All Right. So it's, because I don't know about you, but sometimes there's what grunge is up for debate, it feels like at all times. So the playlist I made was what I feel like what's grunge. So nobody can argue with that. But yeah.
Okay. Well, now I want to see what was on the playlist. So, I'm going to say a band. You give me a yes or no if they are good enough to be on the grunge playlist. We'll start with the obvious. I guess I'll go through the big four. Nirvana.
Of course. Yep. Absolutely.
Pearl Jam.
Or actually, excuse me.
Soundgarden.
No Pearl Jam.
Oh.
No, that's where I don't feel they're very grunge. I feel like they sound very classic rock to me, so I didn't put them on my grunge playlist.
That's so interesting. I agree with that take. Beyond 10, tell me what's grunge about Pearl Jam. They have their moments. Like there's some songs on Versus where I'm like, yeah, that's a grunge song. But beyond like the first 2, maybe 3 records, they just become like they're just like Neil Young with some energy.
I feel too. So when you hear the very sludgy side of grunge, and then you go right into Yellow Ledbetter, it didn't really feel like it mushed them together that well.
No, it's basically just Little Wing, but like rewritten, right? So, okay. So moving forward through the big four, I think I said Soundgarden.
Absolutely.
I think you said yes, right?
Which I'm glad I made this playlist for that, because I didn't really listen to a lot of their first few records, and I love them. They're amazing. So
awesome. What about Alice in Chains? Where do they fit in the group?
Absolutely, they're my favorite grunge group, I think, for sure. So I got all their records are on there. Even some of their new stuff I throw on there. I really like their new stuff as well.
Nice. How about Stone Temple Pilots?
Absolutely.
Ooh, okay, you've thrown them in the grunge. There's a lot of people out there who are like, for the same reason that I think I've heard, because I think it's the DeLeo brothers, if I remember right. That's the bassist,
I'm pretty sure,
the guitar player. Think, yeah, right. I think that's their last name. But they're like Zeppelin heads, so a lot of people will listen to their stuff and be like, oh, it's not grunge, it's classic rock. But I'm like, no, I think you hear like a song like Sex Type Thing or something like that. I'm like, that's a grunge song all day long. All right, I like that. Oh, what about Bush? Where does Bush fit in?
I think Bush is in there. Yeah. I'd absolutely put Bush. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that works for me. I put when I was trying to make the playlist, there's some that I didn't even hear of that I started to listen to, like Tad. That's a really great band. Very, very grunge.
What about like Mudhoney or the what is it, the Osbournes or whatever, or not the Osbournes? Melvins.
Melvins. Yep, Melvins is on there. The Melvins. That's another one that I recently started to get into them, and I love them. They're awesome.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're pretty well versed at making playlists. I'm going to make it easy today. We're going to make a playlist, 12-song playlist. I've got this bag of song superlatives. I'm going to pour it into my trusty David Bowie Vans hat that I've got here that I've been using in each and every episode. And I will pick out one song, and whatever is like, I guess, the first song that comes to your mind, or like if you want to think about it, that's the song you're going to pick. So first song I need from you, Matt. It feels weird to call you Matt because I'm like D'Amico. We're on a last name basis.
all works. Yeah.
All right. First one. I feel like this is the first time I think I've ever had this one pulled out of the hat here. A song that makes you laugh.
Oh man, that's a good one. Two things come to mind there. There's like Weird Al Yankovic. All that stuff is
Yeah.
absolutely makes me laugh. But Eminem for sure has made me howl in a different way, where it's so subtle you don't see it coming and it hits you in the back of the head. I guess so. My first song I always liked "Without Me" by Eminem. That always made me laugh, but it's a great listen as well.
That's a good one. That's not a bad track one either. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna be upset if you throw on a playlist and it starts with "Without Me" Eminem.
No, that's definitely a crowd pleaser.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got for track number 2 here. I'm gonna reach in there pretty deep on this one, and we're going with track or song, potential song 36. Your favorite love song. So sharp turn from the humor to the love.
Darn. I always loved Purple Rain. I don't know if that's a love song, but that gives me romantic vibes anyways.
I feel like even if I don't even know what the lyrics really are all about besides purple and rain. So
yeah,
like I feel like it's like kind of a not quite breakup song, but it's kind of like it definitely feels like a song of devotion, I think.
Yeah, I think that fits right. Yeah.
All right, I'm throwing that in there. I don't know if it counts, but I'm counting it for tonight. All right, Prince with Purple Rain. I like it. Track 3, buddy. Let's see here. I'm gonna reach in. A song for stoners. A song for stoners.
Yeah. Like I'm a big Sabbath fan, so the whole first record is pretty spot on for that. Sweet Leaf is probably my favorite stoner song, though. You can't go wrong with that one.
It's pretty perfect. I like that. I mean, is it fair to say that like Sabbath invented stoner metal? I feel like have to, right? I'm like, who else before that, right? Would count that.
Oh yeah, they invented a lot of things by accident. I think they accidentally.
Yeah, right. It's like everything's an offshoot of Black Sabbath, like doom metal. I'm count that as an offshoot. I would assume
anything, that grunge. I would say too, right? So
grunge, yeah. Anything slow and sludgy, right? That's kind of an offshoot somewhere of Black Sabbath. All right, where does okay? So you love Black Sabbath. Where's Tony Iommi rank for you in terms of like personal favorite guitar players?
He's to me like a genius. Like the riffs are where it's at, and he's got the best riffs. Like him and Page have like they did it all already, so like it feels like when you're like when I'm trying to come up with riffs, like I'm like it's kind of Sabbathy, like it's like I'll hear Sabbath so a lot of my playing. I feel like on our record I'm happy with a lot of the riffs, and definitely Tony Iommi inspired me. I'd rank him up, like I don't even know, pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always hard to put like a number on it, right? And it's like, where is he top 5? I'm like, you'll say it's like, oh yeah, he's definitely like third best, and you're like, oh really? Who's below him? And you're like, oh wait.
It's a can of worms.
That's the hard part about ranking things. Yeah. Well, that's a whole other podcast, really. Let's see. Track 4. We're gonna go with a song by a band that you've never gotten to see live.
I've missed out on a few bands that I wish I saw. I never saw The Hip. And I wish I saw The Hip. Yeah, so
me neither.
Greg, I always loved. Man, I'm blanking on the song name. 2 Pistols or
3 Pistols. Hey, that's the one we played.
3 Pistols. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I love that song. I wish I saw them play it live.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I'm right there with you. I remember the girl I was dating at the time when Gord Downie was dying. And they were doing that final tour, or no, I guess he wasn't actively dying at that point, but he had his cancer diagnosis, and they were doing this final tour and everything. And I remember we were all together with her family, like the night they were doing that like final live stream broadcast. And I forget where we were. I think we came from like a family function. It began, and then we're streaming it on the radio. Like we could have listened to it, and they're like, we don't really want to listen to it. I was like, you don't. I'm like, even if you don't like The Hip, it was like a Canadian heritage moment. Like everybody was like gathered together and either watching it on YouTube or like listening on the radio or whatever, right? Like It was just one of those like
Oh, yeah.
crazy Canadian moments. It was almost like Starstock or something.
Exactly. It brought the whole nation together. That they had that power over their audience and fans. They were part of Canadian culture, of course. Like, and I kicked myself because it felt like one of those bands they're always around, but I never got around to it, and then it was too late, right? So
Yeah, they'd always be playing great shows. Like I think around the time Arkells dropped maybe their second or third album, which I was pretty into at the time. They were opening for the Hip in Toronto or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that would be such a great show, Arkells to the Hip. And then like I never got tickets. I didn't have anybody to go with at the time or whatever. And I was like, I'll get them next time. And then they played in St. Catharines and Niagara on the Lake a couple times. I'll get there. And you never did. So it's a lesson to everybody out there. Make sure you take advantage of seeing the bands because one day they won't be around for you to go and see. Track number 5, Matt. A song from your favorite American band.
First that comes to mind, I don't know if they're my favorite American band, but they're a very American band. I love the Eagles. So I bring. Well, how do I pick? Oh boy, I always liked Them Shoes or Them Boots. I wish I'm using my phone to record, or I would look it up. I want to say it's Them Shoes.
Here, I'll find it for you. Unless they have a song named both. Them Boots? Let's see. Them Shoes?
Those Shoes.
Those Shoes.
Great tune. Good rock song. I love the talk
like
box at the end. And I was a sucker for that 3 guitar thing they got going on.
Yeah. Is that who would be on the talk box for them at that point?
Was that a Felder or Walsh?
Oh my god.
I think it is him.
Joe Walsh, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he's the talk box guy. Yeah. I think that makes sense. That checks. Yeah. So if there's anything else you need me to look up, I do have the old Googling machine right beside me for you. But because there's been a few times where like I've had guests and they're like, I can't remember the song, but it's in the tip of my tongue. Can I please just look it up? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like go for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, I have to edit it out.
Yeah.
And you're searching for 5 minutes, but we got this. We're fine. Moving on to track 6. We're going to get through the halfway point with this one. A song with a male singer.
Yeah.
Which pretty wide range there.
One of my favorite male vocalists is Chris Stapleton. I always he takes me to that place. You know what I mean? Like he just can make you feel good. You know, and put a smile on your face. What's a great song by him? I always like Broken Halos by Chris Stapleton.
Ooh, okay. I like that one. That one's, if I remember correctly, too, a pretty good guitar tune, too, right? That's like kind of the best thing about Stapleton is that a lot of his tracks is like as good as they are vocally and like as a like actual song, lyrics, melody, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of great guitar playing on his records, whether it's Chris playing it or he has somebody in the studio with him playing. He's never shy on a good guitar track. So I wanted to ask you about that because, like, are you much of a country guy?
A little bit. Like I'm more picky with it. I'm not much of a fan of country radio, modern pop country radio.
Yeah.
But I definitely like kind of I love blues and I love bluegrass. And so if there's a little bit of that in there, it kind of pulls me in. I really have been liking Billy Strings a little bit lately. That's definitely pretty traditional bluegrass. I like. I
feel like you're a Sturgill Simpson guy.
I haven't listened to Sturgill Simpson. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I have not actually.
Really?
Yeah. I'll have to add it to my rotation then. I haven't listened to him. Yeah.
I was gonna say Sturgill and Jason Isbell. Jason Isbell was the other one that kind of got me in terms of like, okay, maybe I do like some aspects of country music, and I don't like the pop country that I hear on the radio.
Yeah, I definitely like more like Americana kind of. I guess would be more accurate for my taste, anyways. But
yeah, I feel you on that.
Colter Wall. Sorry to cut you off. I really like him as well. Yeah, that kind of Johnny Cash kind of country, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I always say like outlaw country. I always tell people too, right? That's a great way to describe it. We're moving on to track 7 on your playlist, buddy, and I'm gonna need a song from your favorite Canadian band. Now, I will say also, if you ever feel the need to repeat like an artist, you can totally do that because I know you got the Hip on the list already. But I feel like the Hip are like a good Canadian band, but I feel like you've got somebody else up your sleeve when you think favorite Canadian bands.
First one that comes to mind is Rush for sure, because they're the goats of of my Canadian '70s bands. I guess I love them. I always loved Mystic Rhythms.
What a pull!
One of my favorite Rush songs. Not your that's getting into '80s Rush, and they kind of changed it up in the '80s, but that song always tickled my fancy.
Like, I love the fact that the guitar, like, I'm assuming it's like probably like acoustic and then like an electrified acoustic or something like that. Like, it doesn't sound like a typical electric. It doesn't sound like acoustic. Like, it's got its own unique tone to it, but it's very much a guitar. Like, I think on first listen, I was like, oh, this is a weird synthesizer. And I'm like, no, this is not a synth. Those are chords that are being played.
Yeah. I'm curious there's always a story with that band with how they recorded stuff. So I bet it's like some wacky tribal instrument we've never heard of, or they invented it, you know?
Yeah. Or I bet you it was like, I always forget like who made them or whatever. But you know that, like, I always picture, I think Richie Sambora playing it with Bon Jovi in the 80s. You know that guitar that's kind of got like a curved back, and then like instead of like a sound hole traditionally in the middle of the strings, it'd be like
like an ovation
here.
Or yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's
what it is. Maybe it's ovation. I almost feel like that's what it is.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on there. They love keyboards, and it very well could have been like some sort of weird keyboard setting that. I always love that he uses a lot of chorus as well, and I love chorus. I'm a sucker for a good chorus sound, and that's '80s Rush is a lot of that. So a lot of synthesizers and chorus and digital sounding for the time, you know.
I'm so glad you pulled that one. I'm so glad. Like, I don't think Power Windows gets enough love in terms of being a great record. I think that's such a great Rush record.
I really like their '06 album, Snakes and Arrows. That's an amazing Rush record.
Oh,
they were masters of their craft at that time. I think they were about, I don't know, late 40s, early 50s, and they figured it all out. Like, they're just unstoppable, you know.
Yeah, they really were. That record is fantastic. I mean, that was kind of like my entry point to the band. Like, I knew some of the songs from the radio, and like I had an uncle that was super into Rush, but I went and saw them on like I think like their second leg of the Snakes and Arrows tour, and that's where I was like I knew Far Cry, and I was like, oh, this is such a great riff. It's a great song. Like, yeah, like whatever. Tom Sawyer's great too. Like, that's all that's. And then I'm like, you go to the show and you just get it.
Yeah. You got to see them live to really experience Rush. I was lucky enough to see them as well, and yeah, great show. They know what's up.
Yeah, they're the one band that, like, you know, like people talk about like being retired or like, you know, reunion tours or whatever. I would take a Lee Lifeson like acoustic tour or something like that. All
I'd
day
be front
long.
row.
That'd be great.
First in line.
Yeah, exactly. It'll never be the same without Neil, but like, still, I think if you had a Lee Lifeson tour, I think it would be pretty great.
Cool.
All right, we're moving on to track 8, and it's a song. We got lots of like country-based ones in terms of like location. A song from an international artist, so anybody outside of North America.
Interesting.
So you can go like British, you can go Australian, you can go Japanese. I think somebody had a K-pop song they may have picked for this or something. Yeah.
That's kind of tough. I definitely. There's so many great artists out of Sweden, in like the Nordic countries. I've been really into this band called Catatonia. They're an amazing kind of prog band. I would have to look this one up. This is definitely one of the bands I hit play, and I don't remember the names.
Here, let's see if I can find you one. Is it like a popular track you're thinking?
A Premonition. I think that one I super like. And I'm almost positive they're from Sweden.
All right, let me see if I can find it to make sure that it's called that. Catatonia Premonition. A Premonition.
Yeah, it's K-A-T.
Okay, got it. Got it. Yep, nope, I've got it then. There's another band called Catatonia with a C.
Of course, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm like, they've got a lot of plays. Like, their top songs is like 19 million plays on Spotify. I was like, oh, good for them.
Great band. They've been around for a while. I'm pretty sure they're at 20 years in the industry probably at this point. But
nice. Okay. Catatonia. Make sure I write it down right. Perfect. A good pick from Sweden. I like that. Let's go track number 9, which will be, what do we got here? A song featuring your favorite guitar player or guitar moment. Because I know, like, sometimes it's hard to pick like one particular player, but you might have like a solo in mind where you're like, that song is just so whatever
okay.
because of the solo.
Regret Number 9 by Steven Wilson. That whole song is amazing, but I think that's probably to me, like one of the most like mesmerizingly like gorgeous guitar solos I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know if you've heard of Guthrie Govan. He's kind of like a fusion kind of guitar player.
Yes,
I think he plays. I'm almost positive he plays on that song, and not Steven. Steven's an amazing guitarist, but I'm pretty sure he had Guthrie sit down on that one, and it's phenomenal. Love it. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, and regret number 9. Who was
Steven
the
Wilson.
artist again on that one? Steve Wilson? Thank you. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Wilson, but I want to make sure I say that right. The best part is I can always go back and check it in the editing. But I was like, yeah, you're here right now. May as well get it right. Track 10. Let's see. What do we got here for track 10? I like that you picked a moment, too, instead of like a player. It's so easy to just pick a favorite player, but I figured a guitar nerd like yourself, you would have like a specific song people can be like, oh, wow, that really is a mind-blowing piece of work. So track number 10, following it up with your favorite acoustic track.
I'm a big John Mayer fan, so it's got to be a John Mayer song. I love Can't Stop This Train by John Mayer. Yeah, I always love that song. I always felt the lyrics are it's a great song for if you feel like your life's flashing before your eyes, everything's going too fast, and guess what? We're on this train, it can't stop, and enjoy the ride kind of thing. Yeah, great song, great acoustic song, great. I love John Mayer. I'm a fanboy, so I love all his sappy acoustic stuff as much as I love his shredding blues playing.
I feel like on his last record, we got to the point in like the zeitgeist where John Mayer was no longer annoying, and people can now just appreciate him as a great musician and songwriter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's finally. I feel like he's in that elevated to like legend status, or like it's like household name is everybody can appreciate some John Mayer song.
Yeah, right. So there's an era of John Mayer for everybody. Like for me, like Slow Dancing in a Burning Room is like one of the best like 2000s rock pop songs like going. Like I don't know if there's one better than that. Like where the actual instrument gets displayed, but then there's this beautiful pop song underneath it that's showing off his guitar playing. Like it's awesome. So I wanted to ask on the John Mayer question, because I feel like I know this and I'm not wrong on this, like, but he's been playing, I don't know, the last like 5-10 years with the Dead & Co.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So are you a fan of that sort of stuff too, in the jam bandness of it all with what he's doing there?
Oh, definitely. I wish I'd love to see them. As far as I know, they only do American tours, so I'd have to travel a little bit to go, and I just haven't made the time to do that. But like I've seen millions of clips on YouTube of their renditions and they do a lot of kind of improvised 20-minute long covers of 2-minute song, and I think he fits in so well. But I'd love to see it live because that's their whole deal, right? You gotta see it live. Each show's unique. So
yeah, I was like, I've never had like a ton of interest in the jam band thing, but then I saw like Fish's performance at the Sphere. Like I saw like clips of it or whatever online. And I think the Dead & Co. are either going to the Sphere in Vegas or they've been to the Sphere already and played shows. And I'm like, okay, you know what? In the right setting with the right visuals and all that sort of stuff, I think I can understand jam band culture.
That's just it. It's all about the being present with the band and seeing what they go with. Yeah, you got to see it live. It's hard to listen to it on your own, or at least for me anyways, like just like putting the headphones on, listening to the Grateful Dead. It's never been this. I'm sure it's not the same. Like there's a band locally called Road Waves, and they're kind of like a jam band. And so if I was lucky to see them, and they were so much fun, and they just kind of just go for it. Like they don't really have a beginning, middle, and end necessarily in mind. They just play. So it's kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I just actually listened to their track. I was listening to a playlist of local artists today, and their track with Katie Gatta came up, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is good stuff. So, yeah, Road Waves, I think I even know some of those guys. I think I would have gone to high school with some of those guys, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, no, lots lots of good stuff in Niagara, and Panharmonicon, just the icing on the cake in terms of local bands that I've discovered as of late. So shout out to you guys again on a great record. Let's go to track 11 here now that I'm done buttering you up. This is song 45, Potential, of the 60 songs that I can pull from the hat. It's a song from a band you think everyone should listen to.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think everyone should listen to this song called Let It Pop by a band called Clockwise, which we happened to open for a couple weeks ago. And I've been listening to that song a lot. I think it's an amazing song, and it's the perfect, like for me, I start work pretty early, so it's when I'm drinking my coffee, I need to get heavy music thrown in my face to also wake me up, and that's been my morning commute song to get me fired up.
It's the way, since that gig, I've been walking around and randomly just been to myself, like, it's time to wise up. Like,
wise up.
like, I'm not a new metal guy, but for whatever reason, that show in particular got me into it. And I was like, you know what? I can see the appeal of why bands like Limp Bizkit were so fun and whatever. But Clockwise do new metal in the best way in terms of like local bands and stuff like that. They're a lot of fun. So I'm glad you guys got to open for them. That was a great show.
Me too. I don't know if I ever would have listened to them if I didn't get it thrown in my face and get to work with them. So that we were blessed, and we get to hear their shit. So it's good. Yeah.
It was so weird too seeing Dave Monks from Tokyo Police Club up there on bass, and I'm like, Tokyo Police Club's ending, and all I see are like Magic the Gathering posts and something about Clockwise. I'm like, what is this on? And now I'm like, now it all comes together. I'm like, okay, Dave's playing new metal and playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Someone's got to do it.
I respect it. Yeah, exactly. Right. All right, Matt, we've come to the last song on the playlist in terms of this portion of the show. And, it's a good one to end on. Again, I don't know if I've had this one drawn yet. A good vacation song.
Oh, okay.
Which there's so many ways you can go about this, because it's like, you could do like Euro trip songs. You could do like a sunny beach song. Where do you go for
I have a playlist called Road Trip, and it's every song I could think of that talks about like going on a trip, driving, being on the road. That playlist reminds me of vacation, but it's really more about getting to the vacation, I guess. But when I was in Jamaica, I listened to a lot of Bob Marley, and which, as you do, so he definitely comes to mind as well.
Yeah. I figured it was like a law, like you showed up and they handed you like Bob Marley's greatest hits or something as soon as you got off the plane.
It has to be like you have to leave if you don't like Bob Marley. But I'm actually going to pivot to a song I listened to when I was in Iceland, and I think it's called Afterglow. Ooh. You're going to have to look up the name of the artist, but it's an Icelandic artist, and that song Afterglow I thought was very beautiful. It matched the picturesque mountains and waterfalls of Iceland very well.
Ooh, okay. Well, shockingly, it's a very popular song name. Do you know if it is one word or two words?
I'm pretty sure it's one word. If you type in Afterglow Iceland, I'm sure that would narrow it down. But
let's see if that helps me out here. Icelandic playlist. Is it Asgeir?
Yep, that's it. That's him.
Perfect. All right, we found it. The good old search engine comes up for me once again. So Afterglow by, I hope I'm saying it right, Asgeir.
That's my best guess.
How was Iceland? That was one of those, like, I keep hearing from people that are going to Iceland. Joey Bricks just went. His band toured or played in Iceland earlier this year or last year.
Oh, wow.
And he said it was an awesome experience. Or maybe he's going still. I could have sworn he's already been. I might have that wrong. I'll have to ask Joey to confirm. But there's more than a few people I've known that have done the Iceland thing as of late, and they've just raved about the experience. So I'm assuming it was kind of similar for you.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was beautiful. When I went with three buddies I went to college with, and we went to broadcasting school, so we all love cameras and video. So we kind of did a little road trip there. So it was 10 days around this highway called the Ring Road. And if you get like a camper van, you can drive the ring road in about a week and see the whole country essentially. So yeah, we did that.
Nice.
Gorgeous. No, it's weird to say at the end of the trip you get sick of seeing waterfalls because there's just it's just like it's just such a so different from home, right? Like it was beautiful.
Is it though? We're both Niagara Falls people.
Yeah. I guess so. Like that's a good point. Yeah. So maybe that's why I got a little bored of the waterfalls, but bored in a good way because you're just so overwhelmed with beauty that it's it, it really is a special place.
It's beauty that's not interrupted by tourist traffic.
Exactly. It is very quiet.
So that's the big thing.
We went in the off season, so it felt like we had the island to ourselves, to be honest. So.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Well, duly noted on that one. Well, we've reached the end of your playlist here. Let's run through it one more time for everybody listening. Track 1, you're going with Without Me, Eminem. We got Purple Rain and Prince. Number 2, track 3, Sweetleaf, Black Sabbath. Track 4, Three Pistols, The Tragically Hip. Track number 5, Those Shoes, Eagles. Track number 6, Broken Halos, Chris Stapleton. Mystic Rhythms by Rush at track 7. A Premonition by Catatonia at number 8. Regret number 9, Steven Wilson at track 9. Very, very well picked, by the way. That was perfect. Track 10, Can't Stop This Train, John Mayer. Track 11, Let It Pop, Clockwise. Number 12, Afterglow, Asgear. That is one heck of a playlist. That's a really... I was like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, you know what? I would listen to this playlist. It's a pretty good one.
It's an interesting collection of songs, actually. Yeah, I definitely listen to it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. It's you know what? This is just the influences for the next Panharmonicon record.
Yeah, exactly. Keep your ears out. You might hear something like that in there. Yeah.
All right. Now, I can't remember if I gave you the heads up on this or not. We're going to go to the Patreon portion of the episode. So if you're listening on Patreon, congrats. Thank you for supporting the show. You get the full thing. If you're not listening on Patreon, the show is now going to come to an end, and you'll hear the little outro and all that sort of stuff. We're going to continue on, and we're going to get Matt's top 5 to 10 desert island records. So, all right, buddy. Well, you know what? I appreciate you taking time out to do this. Good luck with the rest of the, I guess, like tour cycle or album cycle. Do you guys have anything planned right now in the future of Panharmonicon that you want to tee up or anything like that?
Yeah, I guess right now we don't really have anything booked. We kind of have this a little lull. It kind of all came to at least with the record coming out, the last year and a half has been like a lot of building up to that, and now it's out, and we played our few shows that we had booked. So we're just kind of looking forward to writing another record, I think, and kind of keep on the creative train. And if shows come up, and we'll be playing, and we'll keep an eye out on our socials. Panharmonicon Band. It's on all that stuff. You'll find it on the internet somewhere. So keep a lookout, and you'll know what's up.
Nice. That just sounds like that we're going to have to book a Panharmonicon green, white, checkered double billing here sometime in the future. I like that.
Give us a call. We'll be there. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Thanks for doing this again. Matt D'Amico of Panharmonicon. Great record, self-titled. It's out now. Go and check it out and wherever you stream your albums, and go buy some CDs from them boys as well. Thanks again for doing this, Matt.
No, thanks for having me. Good to talk to you, John. Have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, for sure. Good catching up. All right, that was Matt D'Amico from Panharmonicon. Really looking forward to playing with the band February 22nd at Camp Cataract in Niagara Falls. Tickets available. You can DM me at Jonathan On Air or at Green White Checkered Band to get yours. Also follow Panharmonicon with the handle at Panharmonicon Band. That's PANHARMONICON.band, and stream their music or buy it from their Bandcamp to support Matt and the boys. I will also mention that as of me recording this outro, Panharmonicon are looking for a bassist. Reach out to them via social media to inquire about the spot. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to help this show continue to grow. It goes a long way to getting more guests and more conversations with the folks that you want to hear from. You can also follow me at Jonathan On Air on all social platforms, including YouTube. Don't forget to join the Patreon, where you can get extended episodes, access to the actual playlists my guests make, and to get a copy of the Season 1 zine. You can check out my band, Green White Checkered, on all streaming platforms, Bandcamp, and at Green White Checkered Band on social media. We have a show coming up January 25th at No Tell Cocktail in Niagara Falls, February 22nd with Daybreak and Panharmonicon at Camp Cataract, and we'll be announcing another show for Niagara for March soon. Thanks for listening. Visit your local record store and local Humane Society, and I'll talk at you later. Let's Make a Playlist is a podcast hosted and created by me, Jonathan Howe, for House Media. At Jonathan On Air is where you can find clips of the show as well as all things me, Jonathon. That's how you spell Jonathan for the record. Please rate, review, subscribe, like all episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to support the show, consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/Let's Make a Playlist. There you can find exclusive content, longer episodes, and sign up to receive our end of season zine. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends, and we'll be back with more playlists.